I can't trust no bitch.
Who the fuck you think you talking to?
Bitch.
You can't be fucking talking to me.
Nigga, I can't trust no bitch.
You better come correct, nigga.
Hello. So this is going to be a lot different than what I normally talk about or cover. I saw something today that I see this from so many sides. We talk about a real life discussion, and what does that look like? So real life, the way I've thought about it is when I do anything that leaves this platform. Search your name, search your phone number, search your address. That's real life, okay? Everything off the YouTube platform. So, because I am absolutely a person that has went off the YouTube platform, I understand doing it. I understand it being done to me. I understand the fear that it puts. I understand the way I've had to live my life a certain way off of this platform because of the real life threat. I understand all sides, being the aggressor and both the victim. When I first come to YouTube, we watched true crime. It was a chaotic shit show like I've never seen before. Simultaneously, I was dealing with a true crime, so it's kind of why I would watch it. I wanted to learn as much as I could about criminal process, cases, solving cases, things like that for my own personal needs. Well, YouTube true crime is anything but. So once I figured that out, I was done. I was done watching it. It's, in my opinion, and I'll break this down in detail. Once I start figuring out who the hell the players are. So the only thing I know about the mafia is by watching the Godfather movies. So I have to actually look into the hierarchy and put my thoughts a little more together. But I legitimately look at some of these creators and think to myself, they absolutely feel like they are the godmothers and the godfathers of the true crime. So I'll explain that a little further. I'm going to do a couple part series on this, one live. So I'm recording it, I'm breaking it down, I'm putting some supporting evidence to back up what I think is going on and why it's working with the masses. Not to mention, I always wondered why people were so drawn to the negativity, the constant fighting, the constant bickering. So I think I found something that will go hand in hand. So we're going to cover a couple topics before I start covering this live. So all my source materials, where I got this information from, will be in the description. This first little thing I found is an article that if you enjoy watching true crime, especially before bed, it's a major red flag. So this doctor kind of discusses, if your idea of relaxing before you go to sleep is to watch 3 episodes of Law and Order, then I would encourage you to think about, why is trauma relaxing to me? That's what it is. Harm, crime, violation, attacks, and that's what it is. That's what is going to soothe me into my bedtime. So the Dr. Bryant is the lady that did this study. She explains that some people find this content normal and familiar. She continued, some of us grow up in high stress, so people mistake peace for boring. To come home to yourself, you have to lean into the discomfort because it's going to feel unfamiliar. How people reacted on psychologist observation. So many people agreed with Dr. Bryant's analysis and opened up about why they enjoy true crime documentaries. One person commented on the podcast, "It distracts me from the pain I'm feeling in my life. I don't like it. It just redirects my anger." So that makes a lot of sense. It absolutely makes a lot of sense. So another one said, "The trauma isn't relaxing to me. It's the justice the characters or real life people often get that I never did in my own life." So now the source for this is Wikipedia. And again, it will be in the description. So, what is true crime? True crime is a nonfiction literary podcast and film genre in which the author examines a crime and details the actions of people associated with and affected by criminal events. The effects of true crime. True crime works can impact the crimes they cover and the audience who consumes it. The investigative process of the true crime genre can lead to changes in the cases being covered, such as when Robert Durst seemingly confessed to murder in the documentary The Jinx and was arrested. A study conducted in 2011 in Nebraska showed that consuming nonfiction crime shows, aka true crime, is correlated with an increased fear of being a victim of true crime. As the frequency of watching true crime shows increased, support for the death penalty increased, while support for the criminal justice system decreased. The Netflix show Making a Murderer has had a range of real life effects, ranging from the show being shown in law schools as instructional material to increased mistrust in criminal investigators. So, podcasts. Podcasts with the true crime theme are a recent trend. The 2014 true crime podcast Serial broke podcasting records when it achieved 5 million downloads on iTunes quicker than any previous podcast. As of September 2018, it had been downloaded more than 340 million times. It has been followed by other true crime podcasts such as Dirty John, My Favorite Murder, Up and Vanished, podcast series such as Cults, Female Criminals, and Mind's Eye, Someone Knows Something, and many more. Podcasts have now expanded to more sites such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and several others. They exist to provide others an easy way to learn about true crime murders and mysteries. Spotify has an expanding number of true crime podcasts with Rotten Mango, Conviction, American Panic, Bed of Lies, Catch and Kill, among many more. This genre has been on the rise as psychologist Amanda Vickery said her report found women were most drawn to true crime stories that gave them tips for spotting danger and staying alive. The true crime category in Apple Podcasts appeared for the first time in mid 2019, and until then, the podcasts that would be moved into this section had existed across many other categories, such as history, news and politics, and even comedy. It has been speculated that fear could play a role in the popularity of true crime podcasts, and this is significant. These podcasts often recount horrific crimes, which triggers the fear response and the release of adrenaline in the body. Due to the possibility of binging podcasts, adrenaline rushes can be experienced in quick bursts. Another explanation for the popularity of true crime podcasts is due to the serialized nature of crime, in which events happen one after another. Podcasts that explore a crime episodically can utilize this aspect in their storytelling. Another strength of these podcasts is use of typical sensationalist techniques, such as inclusion of direct dialogue and focus on victims and their families. Podcasts can use music or other sound cues to maximize the intended impact or shock value of effect, as seen in Serial. So this explains why the live formats are so popular and why live streamers get the majority of views and subs, especially hate watchers, because it is a sustained adrenaline release. Whether you're pro or against the streamer, It is a sustained way to have those adrenaline releases. And it is addicting, the dopamine release, the other things that happen physiologically in your body. And people are absolutely becoming addicted to the back and forth. So, as a content creator, you have to sustain that release for people by sensationalizing everything. So the source for this is Wikipedia, and it's sensationalism. In journalism and mass media, sensationalism is a type of editorial tactic. Events and topics in news stories are selected and worded to excite the greatest number of readers and viewers. This style of news reporting encourages biased or emotionally loaded impressions of events rather than neutrality and may cause a manipulation to the truth of a story. Sensationalism may rely on reports about generally insignificant matters and portray them as a major influence on society or biased presentations of newsworthy topics in a trivial or tabloid manner, contrary to general assumptions of professional journalistic standards. Some tactics include being deliberately obtuse, appealing to emotions, being controversial, intentionally omitting facts and information, being loud and self-centered, and acting to obtain attention. Trivial information and events are sometimes misrepresented and exaggerated as important or significant, and often include stories about the actions of individuals and small groups of people, the content of which is often insignificant and irrelevant to the macro level day-to-day events occurring globally. So, in mass media, American cartoon published in 1898, Remember the Maine, and Don't Forget the Starving Cubans. Such sensationalist cartoons were used to support American intervention in the Cuban War of Independence. So that's how far back it goes. In the late 1800s, falling costs in paper production and rising revenues in advertising in the U.S. led to a drastic rise in newspaper circulation, which attracted the growing audiences that advertisers desired. So they have this down to a science. This is a long studied thing because now it is 2023. So this is over 200 years of sensationalism. And as the years progress, it has to become more and more. Think about it. When we were kids, you didn't hear bitch, fuck, cunt, nothing on TV. Now it's on daytime, shows. One presumed goal of sensational reporting is to increase or sustain viewership or readership, from which media outlets can price their advertising higher to increase their profits based on higher numbers of viewers and/or readers. Sometimes this can lead to a lesser focus on objective journalism in favor of a profit motive, in which editorial choices are based upon sensational stories and presentations to increase advertising revenue. Additionally, advertisers tend to have a preference for their products or services to be reported positively in mass media, which can contribute to bias in news reporting in favor of media outlets protecting their profits and revenues, rather than reporting objectively about stated products and services. However, newspapers have a duty to report and investigate stories related to political corruption. Such investigative journalism is right and proper when it's backed with documents, interviews with responsible witnesses, and other primary sources. Journalists and editors are often accused of sensationalizing scandals by those whose public image is harmed by the legitimate reporting of the scandal. News organizations are not obliged to, and are often ethically obliged not to, avoid stories that might make local, state, and national public figures uncomfortable. Occasionally, news organizations mistakenly relay false information from unreliable anonymous sources who use mass media as a tool for retaliation, defamation, victim and witness tampering, and monetary or personal gain. Therefore, any story based on sources who may be reasonably assumed to be motivated to act in this way is best interpreted with critical thinking. So this is an important thing. You'll hear people talk about research, research, research. If your research is watching lives, that isn't research at all. You might be getting a feel for the live streamer that you're going to talk about, but using research as a word for watching lives, you are sadly mistaken. Even this, I had some thoughts, I put them together, searched them out, read articles, read wiki, whatever. That's a little bit closer to research. I will cite my sources. I will give supporting evidence for the claims that I make. That's closer to research. But to just hit live and say, well, I saw on such and such channel that this, that, and this, and the other, that's not research at all. Also, I'm seeing a trend in using Google address and phone numbers to link people to families, and Google is such a huge search engine. It connects things that don't often shouldn't be connected, even background checks. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. If I searched my phone number, it might come back to a John Wayne. John Wayne might be a family of perverts, but I am in no way connected to John Wayne nor his family of perverts just because Google says so. The reliability of the data you're consuming needs to be double checked and triple checked, and your research needs to be shown so objective people can look at it and follow it. And then if it all goes together, then you can regurgitate it as much as you want to. But if your research is flawed, if your search criteria is wrong, if your input data is spelled wrong, there's so many variables, and I'm seeing it all over. And when I finish covering this live, you're going to see why I'm touching on all of these points. Because I'm seeing a trend. Everyone who does not agree with me is part of a PDF file ring. That is the most dangerous thing I've ever heard in my life. But it's being encouraged, regurgitated, and it is clear that there are some seriously bad motives behind what these people are claiming. The fact that they will not openly show their research, their sources, tells me there's something they don't want out. So, in extreme cases, mass media may report only information that makes a good story, without regard for factual accuracy or social relevance. It has been argued that the distrust in government that arose in the aftermath of the Watergate scandal created a new business tactic for the media and resulted in the spread of negative, dishonest, and misleading news coverage of American politics. Such examples include the labeling of a large number of political scandals, regardless of their importance, with the suffix "gate." So you'll often see that on YouTube as well. Cosmic Brownie Gate. Email Gate. It's there. And it's refined at this point in time. Such stories are often perceived, rightly or wrongly, as politically partisan or biased towards or against a group or individual because of the sensational nature in which they are reported. A media piece may report on a political figure in a biased way or present one side of an issue while deriding another. It may include sensational aspects such as zealots, doomsayers, and/or junk science. Complex subjects and affairs are often subject to sensationalism. Exciting and emotionally charged aspects can be drawn out without providing the elements needed, such as pertinent background, investigative, or contextual information for the audience to form its own opinions on the subject. And that sounds absolutely familiar. So that was print, still remains the same. This is more online. The digital revolution has completely changed the way people both create and react to news content from a production standpoint. News outlets are now at a much higher risk of releasing content that is false because of how quickly news is circulated through the internet in order to capitalize on those views and clicks for profit. From a consumption standpoint, this means fewer people reading physical copies of newspapers, and this is reflective in the way headlines are created for print media. The introduction of the term clickbait into the forefront of the global lexicon has had implications in many major world events, specifically the election of Donald Trump to the presidency of the United States, which reflects the growing weakness in controlling the limits of what it is acceptable to say. Another reason for the concern over internet sensationalism is the way certain algorithms can create news loops that show people the exact same thing over and over again. We see this a lot also. Known as echo chamber, many characters on the internet have been able to profit off of these tactics by instilling fear through completely ridiculous and unverified sources, which are able to self-permeate online through these algorithms. While these algorithms are meant to prioritize more trustworthy sources, this does not always happen since they rely on keywords and phrases. As politics have become more polarized, these tactics have become increasingly prominent as news outlets realize how easy it is to push their own agendas on the internet in this fashion. It becomes easier to break the Overton window, and the gatekeepers, journalists at major media organizations, are losing power. Many countries have implemented response efforts to this issue, as distrust in the media has become a global concern alongside the rapidly changing format of news media. So this is going back to the true crime on Wikipedia. The true crime genre has been criticized as being disrespectful to crime victims and their families, and is described by some as trash culture. Author Jack Miles believes this genre has a high potential to cause harm and mental trauma to the real people involved. True crime media can be produced without the consent of the victim's family, which can lead to them being re-traumatized. And we've seen that a lot. Dawn Wells and Candace Wells, wrong or right, guilty or innocent, it doesn't matter. We have seen real trauma result from greed. Recent discussions about the consumption of true crime media have also focused on the impact on the audience's mental health. Depending on the writer, true crime can adhere strictly to well-established facts in journalistic fashion or can be highly speculative. Writers can selectively choose which information to present and which to leave out in order to support their narrative. Artists have offered fact-based narratives blending fiction and historical reenactment. Author Christina Gregory analyzed several books of the genre and concluded that tabloidization and fictionalization are pervasive in the works of some of the authors of true crime literature. In some cases, even books by the same author disagree on specifics about the same killer or event. For instance, some facts reported in Capote's In Cold Blood were challenged in 2013. Capote's second attempt at a true crime book, Hand-Carved Coffins, 1979, despite being subtitled Non-Fiction Account of an American Crime, was already noted for containing significant fictional elements. So that's just showing in order to sell in order to remain relevant, in order to get out in the algorithm. We hear that a lot. Get me out in the algorithm. Get yourself out in the algorithm for something noteworthy. But unless you're willing to keep that adrenaline rush going, you're not going to be relevant in what we're going to cover today. All right. So this specifically is the definition for research: the systematic investigation into and study of materials and sources in order to establish facts and reach new conclusions. Why is research so important? The purpose of research extends beyond academia and has a significant impact on society. Research generates knowledge that aids in addressing real-world problems and making informed decisions. Research provides a more profound understanding of society and its functions. So let's talk about making informed decisions. If you're listening to a live streamer and they are feeding you sensationalized material that they have made into a complete artistic work, you're being fed bad information. And when you're being fed bad information, making decisions, especially when that decision is attacking someone, you are not making an informed decision. If you're After hearing something, if you feel like going and attacking someone, this is what I'm learning on this platform. And I've been here over a year now. You're being fed false information. It was sensationalized on purpose to give you that adrenaline rush, to give you you're essentially handing over power and control of your body to that creator when they're feeding you full of crazy shit, and then you're going out attacking someone else. It's by design. Now, the creator may not realize that that's what they're doing, but that's exactly what they're doing. And I hope that this gets out so people do realize exactly what they're doing. And as viewers, we can choose not to consume it altogether unless the creator is going to give you facts. Leave the speculation and rumor out because it is damaging to someone's family. Eventually, those children are going to see all of this, and it's been, I don't know how long, 2 years. Eventually, those brothers are going to see what creators have been doing while holding this child's name in their channel. It's gross. And I don't feel that drama and true crime should have ever been mixed, but I'm giving you a scientific answer on why it is. So they're legitimately merging, just as I'm reading you the back story of true crime. It's been around for 200 years, and the more you add, your creativeness to it and push it out there, the more you get adrenaline rushes, the more people come back because they need that fix. And that's essentially you're a true crime dope dealer. So when people say research, it's meant to imply they know what they're talking about. But again, like I mentioned earlier, if your research is watching people talk on a live, that's absolutely not research at all. Okay, so this source will be in the description. Why is the news always about bad things? Humans, it turns out, have what social psychologists call a negativity bias. We tend to pay more attention to bad seeming information than good seeming information. That could be a root factor for why the news is so depressing. That's what we're looking for. Across their sample, they found that negative news provoked stronger physiological reactions and garnered more attention than positive or neutral news on average, though individual people reactions vary quite a bit, with a minority of people responding more to positive news. This speaks to the demand side of the bad news dilemma. People who watch and consume news seem to be drawn to negative, dour stories more than the positive ones, but it speaks to the supply side too. Journalists have some leeway in deciding what stories to cover, and if we too have a negativity bias, we could be facing the same impulses pushing us toward more negative stories that our readers do. The negativity bias is a cognitive bias that results in adverse events having a more significant impact on our psychological state than positive events. Negativity bias occurs even when adverse events and positive events are of the same magnitude, meaning we feel negative events more intensely. Now, this I'm about to play the live, and then you'll see why I'm reading all of this and why I put all this information out. And as I continue with more parts of this live, covering this live, uploading this live, I will put more research that I found or more evidence that I found to answer. I know for me, it's a huge question. Why are people consuming this? So now you can understand that humans have this negativity bias, and that's again feeding that adrenaline rush, keeping them coming back because they need it. They are essentially addicted. So you now know your viewers are actually addicted to the content that you're putting out. So as a subscriber, it would be very healthy at this point to unplug, to limit your time where you're consuming true crime and binging. If you're leaving YouTube and then going to binge watch Netflix, you're addicted. Okay, so now I want to move into the weapon of fear. How they use fear to manipulate you. This is going to be very prevalent in this live. I have seen so many threats. I only have an hour of it recorded so far, and I've seen nothing but threats. I get it. I gaslight. I talk a lot of crazy shit. But people know legitimately I'm not doing nothing. When I say, oh, it's war, I'm just talking. I'm mad, talking shit. It is what it is. But I have seen what some of these people have done. And it doesn't scare me because no one, fear, I don't have one. But some people do. Some people have small children in their house. Many reasons. Great jobs. I've seen people lose their job. I've seen people lose, all kinds of things. So I just don't have that same fear. But I've seen the fear tactics trying to be used to gain compliance in this live, and I'm going to point it out every time I see it or hear it. It's laughable and pathetic. Everyone knows the majority of your viewers are women, so you to keep naming everybody, throwing these fears, it's a joke to me, and I laugh about it because I feel like if people would, all they have to do, change your screen name. Don't tell nobody you're a brand new person. Delete that email, start another email, get a new YouTube channel. It's that easy as a subscriber to change who you are, to disappear. But right now, they're playing off your false sense of belonging. Because I have seen these people, when you stop giving them money, if you stop answering them, if you stop replying to them, if you stop feeding them, if you question them in any way, I have seen them turn into a damn viper. And I'm sorry, that to me, I watch for that when I watch a creator. If I can't disagree with you and I'm going to do it respectfully, But if your ego is so fragile that I can't ask you a question, I'm going to pick on you. And I'm going to make an example of picking on you. And that's just my personality. That's what gets me into a lot of trouble on this platform. But, you know. So, the weapon of fear, how they use fear to manipulate you. He who has overcome his fears will truly be free, and that's Aristotle. Since the moment we were born, society has imposed on us what to do, what to think, and what to feel. And it has conditioned us to believe that if we don't follow its rules, we're bound to get into serious trouble. Parents taught us to behave in certain ways. If we did, they would reward us. If we didn't, they would punish us. Naturally, every child obeys its parents because the child is dependent on the parents. It is a matter of survival, especially in its very early years. At school, we were taught to think in certain ways. They taught us what to think, but not how to develop our thinking. And everyone was taught the same. If we thought in different ways than our classmates, teachers would tell us we were bad students. They would give us bad grades and might even expel us from school. Therefore, as students, we learn to compromise our thinking so as to get away with troubles. Religion taught us to follow anything but our inner voice. Scriptures, priests, God. It taught us to have faith in others, but not to have faith in ourselves. Religion taught us that if we did certain things, we would be rewarded with the bliss of heaven. But if we didn't, we would be punished in hellfire. And who in his right mind would desire to be punished in hell? And who wouldn't want to experience heaven? Not surprisingly, we held religion in dear faith. Parents, schools, and religion used one of the same thing to make us do what they wanted us to do: fear. If you want to manipulate anyone, first make him or her afraid. Once afraid, he or she will be ready to accept your offered suggestions. This tactic is being continuously used in our everyday life, but we are unaware of it. Have a clear look around you, and you will see what I mean. Politicians are being elected by persuading the masses through the use of fear. Companies are selling their products by manipulating consumers' insecurities in advertising. Journalists influence public opinion by terrorizing people's minds, and these are just a few of the examples. Fear is the best weapon of all great manipulators. It can move people to do anything, no matter how nonsensical it is. Neither a man, nor a crowd, nor a nation can be trusted to act humanely or to think sanely under the influence of a great fear. Fear. Without it, we wouldn't be able to survive. This is how marketers and the media create panic to control the masses. Why? Because it's the emotion that warns us about potential threats to our survival and urges us to protect ourselves from them. Let me give you an example to illustrate what I mean. Imagine that you're walking outside in the dark and suddenly you see a snake jumping right in front of your feet. Immediately, fear kicks in. You start sweating, your heart rate goes up, and your cortisol as well as adrenaline levels increase. The snake could be poisonous, so you immediately need to protect yourself from it. In such a dangerous situation, your natural response is most likely going to be one of the following: run away from the snake, injure, kill, or somehow immobilize the snake, freeze in hopes that the snake will be undisturbed by your presence and leave you alone. Fear, as the above example shows, is a protective mechanism that is part of our survival instinct, helping us to stay alive and healthy. But here's the problem: when that mechanism becomes overactive and we start fearing things that don't actually pose us any threat, it can wreak havoc not only with our well being due to too much stress, but also with our decision making. Because fear, as you soon find out, can hinder clear thinking. Manipulative people are very aware of the latter and try their best to control how you think and behave by using fear based tactics. Here, you'll learn what some of those tactics are, as well as what you can do to avoid falling into their trap. Do as they say or else. Whether you know it or not, fear is constantly being used against you. By whom? Well, here are a few examples: politicians, marketers, and the media. Let's have a closer look at how they do that. starting with politicians. The vast majority of politicians are demagogues. A demagogue is defined as a political leader who seeks support by appealing to the desires and prejudices of ordinary people rather than by using rational argument. Now, the emotion politicians like to appeal to the most is fear. By intentionally spreading messages that make the general public feel like it'll be harmed or utterly destroyed if they aren't elected into positions of power or don't implement certain policies. Politicians are able to persuade the masses to support them. You might be wondering, how can that be possible? Don't people base their decisions on conscious, rational thinking? Well, they do, much of the time, but rarely when they are gripped by fear or a threat. Whether real or imagined, here's why, according to cognitive psychologist and economist Robin M. Hogarth. By creating a state of emergency in our psyche, fear distracts us from the relevant facts on which we should base our conscious decisions. A fight or flight instinct kicks in instantaneously when we're afraid, leaving no time for us to question its merits. The resulting knee jerk reaction often leads to a short term solution that only tackles the symptoms. This act first, think later approach, however, doesn't address underlying causes. To illustrate how fear has been used by politicians to influence the layman, let's watch a fear-mongering ad used during Lyndon Johnson's presidential run to persuade voters to support him instead of his warmonger Republican opponent Barry Goldwater, who, according to the ad, would surely lead the U.S. into a nuclear war if elected. So, again, it's just a video. You can Google it. It'll come up on YouTube because it's on YouTube. But that's what Lyndon Johnson used to get the presidency. Political leaders harp on any reason they can find to make us panic: terrorism, immigrants, drugs, crime, minorities, and various others. A master at creating panic is the ex-president of the United States, Donald Trump. In fact, that's one of the main reasons why he was able to become the U.S. president in the first place. Trump's rhetoric went like this: illegal immigrants are pouring drugs and violence into America. Everybody's dying from fentanyl. Radical Islamic terrorists are preparing for another big U.S. attack. Christians are being executed en masse in the Middle East, and so on and so forth. And what was the solution to all those issues? He himself. Now, he's a good businessman. As sociologist and author Barry Glassner put it, Donald Trump's formula is very clean and uncomplicated. Be very, very afraid, and I am the cure. Another American president used a lot of fear-based rhetoric was George W. Bush. For instance, right after the 9/11 tragedy, the warning he issued was, be afraid, be very, very afraid. Then for years onward, he was repeatedly talking about Americans being in danger of more terrorist attacks and that the only way to make it safe again was to bomb Iraq. Today, it's crystal clear that Bush had a hidden agenda to expand and strengthen the American empire by gaining economic and geopolitical power. Panicked and confused, millions of Americans couldn't understand what was really going on and blindly consented to the so-called war on terror. I could go on giving many more examples of politicians who've tried to control the masses through the use of fear, but I think those will suffice to carry my point across. So, a great way to control the masses is to instill a fear that every adult has for children. So when we're talking about the true crime community, specifically the ones that deal with the missing children cases, that unfortunately has made people a lot of money. And when you question them, that is a direct attack on their income. And that's just speculation from what I've seen. So let me skip forward. We're wired to respond to fear above everything else. If we miss an opportunity for abundance, life goes on. If we miss an important fear cue, it doesn't. And some people, like I said, have those simultaneously connected. Fear drives better ratings. Better ratings means increased profit. The mainstream media knows this very well and is doing its best to capitalize on it by terrorizing us. It's able to keep our attention hooked and ruthlessly exploit us for its financial gain. Let's see an example of how fear-based advertising works. All the great marketers know well that one of the primary human desires is to connect with other humans and feel part of a community. And hence, that one of these things people are most afraid of is to be excluded from their social groups. So, through advertising, marketers usually try their best to convince you that if you don't buy stuff, nobody will like you anymore and that you'll probably be ostracized by your community. Let's give a YouTube example. If you question a creator, doesn't matter the chat size, and that creator says, I know who you are, I'm going to be sending this person your information. That is used as a fear tactic to get people to fall in line and comply. Now, I see a double-edged sword with that. If you consistently have someone attacking you and they're relentless and you use that, it's all justified, but it's still meant to be a fear tactic. I know that. I know that personally. It was used against me as a sub, and I, in turn, as a creator, have used it. Wrong or right, it is absolutely a fear tactic for compliance, for obedience, because you want that person to be obedient to what you're saying. And afraid and insecure, most people blindly do what they're told, thus wasting their hard earned money buying things they don't really need and which only provide them with a temporary superficial sense of belonging. There's so many parallels, it's unreal. Dealing with fear-based manipulation. Now that we've looked at some different ways fear is being used against you, I'd like to share with you a few simple tips that can help you to avoid falling victim to fear-based manipulation. The first and most important thing is to identify fear when it arises within you and try to see it for what it is, without shying away from it or pretending that it's not there. By bringing fear into your conscious awareness, you'll be able to examine where it's coming from and what message it's trying to convey to you, which will help you to better understand and deal with it. In fact, research suggests that just acknowledging an emotion and explicitly identifying fear can help manage its subsequent effects on our behavior. Secondly, when dealing with political, social, or other important issues, remember to associate feelings of fear with the need to slow down and regain mental and emotional clarity. So if you feel triggered, do not react. Instead, go within and sort those feelings out. Instead of succumbing to impulsive reactions, take the time to educate yourself on the issue at hand. This will not only allow you to assess your options and take better informed decisions, but also to discern what you should fear from what you shouldn't. Lastly, instead of blindly conforming to the norm and obeying to authority figures, act mindfully. Take responsibility for your own actions. Just because your favorite politician, creator, an award winning journalist, or a commercial on a major TV channel tells you what to do or believe, that doesn't mean you should. Sadly, after years upon years of conditioning, most people don't use their critical thinking and instead let others think for them. To break free from that conditioning, be sure to doubt and not mindlessly accept any truth that's being thrown at you by someone else. Excuse me, regardless of who that person might be. So it is very important if your creator is live streaming well over 12 hours, they're trying to condition you. They're trying to get you to be conditioned to their constant adrenaline releases. And essentially, they're your dope dealer. And some of them were dope dealers before. So, I mean, it's kind of what they do.
real quick, I wouldn't have ever known that this stream existed if I hadn't have found out from Jenna, because I didn't even know, right? It's this is about, so there's some really sick shit going on, and it involves who? Benny, you want to talk about it a little bit? Well, I'm gonna pull up these.
Sure.
I'm gonna pull up some of these videos real quick.
So the issue that we ran into was the circle jerks. They have a video that we're going to play here from 8 days ago. And in this video, there is mooey contradictions. They started out by basically razzing and making fun of Carl, but then shortly into it, they're actually confirming what Carl is saying. It is a complete cluster. And I've never watched anything that those circle jerk ladies have ever put up. But this is the one that I saw, and this is extravagant.
So I know many of you have no idea probably who Carl is. I'm sure you've heard of PK and Tiffany Marie. But I'm working on a little compilation video of who Carl is, who Benny Keys is, and Tiffany Marie.
Now I'm guessing at some point they'll probably try to pull the stream down, and I would forewarn you ladies to not do that, because that would look very suspicious. Okay.
And that is a intimidation tactic.
Now with that, you said that Griffey sent all the money back, but in fact, I have a PayPal that constitutes that I've sent her over $340. I didn't get my money back. I'd like to get my money back, because
it always revolves around money. That is a common theme in the true crime community, especially with missing children creators. It seems to motivate them. It also seems to bring the worst out of them. Because if you get in the way of their cash flow, you're going to pay.
that was for the billboard. That was for the billboard, and I did not receive my funds back, but they said that she sent back every dollar. She also got, I believe it was $1,800.
Is right here, right? Is this it,
Yeah.
Benny?
Here, that's my money. I need my money, Griffey and Stella. Circle jerks. How come I can't get my money back, but you going on there saying that she just sent everybody every dime back? No, she didn't. She owes me $344. That's how much she. This was when Brad had collected money for her rent over there, and then said that he couldn't send it because it was a conflict area. So this was a troll gone bad, folks. That's what this was. This was a troll gone bad. However, it was a troll that at the time was helpful for Griffey and them. So there's been about it's been about $2,100 sent that way just from people right by me. So they're not even accounting for any of that. And I hate that these ladies who started as 20 send down to 6 or 7, and they've got the story all fucked up. Pardon my French.
But see, already we've got, so I want to point out, this is the perfect distraction, right? Because we're talking about
Absolutely.
Kids, right? Little kids.
Correct.
That these people are trying to funnel into an app on their phone where they can sing songs that, you know, they can cam up, they can sing with other people. So we've got Chip over there, and the circle jerks are distracting with money. But say, while you're on the subject, Benny here is saying he's got a problem with you ladies, and he's got a problem with Griffey. So,
oh yeah, big problem. Where's
yeah.
Stella? That's what I want to know. Where's Stella?
Where is Stella?
Speak over you and not say nothing. Good
No, you're fine. I do want to ask this because I've been doing some major research. I didn't know you sent a money, Benny, but I've seen Stella go to many different platforms, from Chip to also.
Again, like I mentioned, what does research mean? It absolutely does not mean watching live streams.
What's her name? Nita. And they were donating money to her as well. Like to her PayPal and stuff.
Who was that?
She was on Chip's channel. She had Chip's PayPal. That's where all the money went to.
Oh, really?
And then she went to Nita's, and they were.
I forgot to add Jenna to the list. TM, BK, Carl, and Jenna.
Yeah, we need Nita around. Like, Nita, I know that I don't fuck with you, but
You need to bring your ass here. I'll pay $10 to come over and talk for 16 hours today.
we're gonna need to talk to Nita because we have a problem. Hold on, I'm gonna let you listen to some of this
Or the
problem.
police
real
can go
quick
talk to you
before-
either way, because she's tied in, baby.
before we get into anything, and like we got to separate this money shit from here, because they want you to be distracted with money. This
Right.
is a more pressing issue at the moment, but listen, it's all important. Circle jerks, you don't have the authority to do anything or call shots with this, but
Okay, so they just said, now I don't really, I've watched the Circle Jerks a time or two. I don't really watch them too much anymore just because I don't watch true crime. So it's kind of hard to follow when you don't watch any of the people they're talking about. Well, they started this live off by bitching about wanting money back, but now they're projecting, saying, well, that's the Circle Jerks are motivated by money. So one of two is true.
apparently Tangeray and let's see, we what is it? The Ewok bitch? Yeah, she
About
wrote
the
the
Ewok.
script. So Ewok, we're gonna need to talk to you also. Fizzle, where are you? You were all up in this shit. So
I got Fizzle taken care of tomorrow morning. I'm finna handle her with 2 calls. You ain't even got to worry about her.
okay.
Again, so now they're calling people out by name. If I remember correctly, Ewok is a Circle Jerk. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. Then they're also bringing Fizzle into this. So now they're starting to name people individually, again, as a fear tactic. So what he just said was, don't worry, I'm taking care of Fizzle with 2 phone calls tomorrow. As if he's implying that he's going to do something, who knows what, but he's going to make those 2 phone calls tomorrow.
All right. So, all right. Well, let me play some of this. I want you guys to listen. This is from Carl's channel. Chip will give them a name. Pay attention, people. And just remember, when you look in your living rooms or wherever at your children, she's talking to them.
And I want to add before.
Now, she's personalizing this fear that you need to have. So she essentially wants you to now project what you're about to hear as if you're protecting your own children. So you're going to automatically perk up and I'm going to fight everybody. And most people would kill for their children. She's now putting that and assigning that to you.
Before you play it, I want to add before you play this that, in my opinion, Shmuel ended up being the more likely suspect platform for her to do this kind of work.
For children.
Absolutely.
Griffey admitted to having all the knowledge of it. Jenna, thank you so much. Because
Jenna.
had you not brought this over, we would not even know that Griffey just admitted to all of the knowing, right? The knowledge.
Well, see, the thing about it is the Circle Jerks have been on me for a very long time.
So if you listen to that, the Circle Jerks have been on me for a very long time. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a motive. So money, clear motive. Now it sounds like revenge. So when you're outside looking in at these people, I don't watch these people, but I see enough to know, okay, I'm going to listen for their motive. So Jenna just gave you the motive. The motive is revenge. She said, and I quote, the Circle Jerks have been on me for a long time. What are they going to cover? Who are they threatening? The Circle Jerks. Again, I don't have any personal relationships with anybody that is a Circle Jerk, but it's common sense. And so, like what I talked about at the intro to this video, it's now you understand why I put everything in.
So, that's what my channel
Well, we're here
does.
to help you, Miss Jenna.
Yes.
If we expose the fuck shit, I'm sorry for cussing on your panel. That's what I do on my channel. I like the skinning and stuff like that and all the bull crap. That's what I do on my channel. I'm not Jenna's Journey no more, Benny.
I apologize. Is Jenna's
It's
rules?
okay. No, it's raw, real, and uncut.
Raw. Okay. Then if you could at some point before we cut out, if you could put your link in the back, I sure like to follow you. I had lost track of where you was at, baby.
Oh, my mods, please drop please drop Jenna's link. She's on my panel. Please also drop this link right here. I'm going to put this in the chat. This is the link to the video I'm playing right now. This comes from Carl. Hold on, I'm putting this in. If my mods could just let everybody know what's playing right now, so we'll dress it up. Hold on. There you go.
Go back to the 3 stack and just click on her and drag her from the bottom to the link, or click on her picture on the screen and just drag it. Just hit the screen.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. I'm like, what? I was clicking on the link. This is all painful. I don't watch these Circle Jerkers either. They all make me sick, but this
fucking weird.
gig. And I would definitely ask
They
if
most
you have
definitely
your
are.
kids around, like, if you guys have your kids around, this probably isn't a stream to have them around for, or grab your earbuds or something. I
And listen, if you watch any amount of true crime or drama, probably your kids shouldn't be around, because just as you're experiencing a adrenaline release, now you're having your children whose brains are forming. So now you're setting the tone in their bodies. Again, it says probably came from chaotic lives. Okay. So you as an adult need to consume this to feel normal, not bored. Okay. Now you're instilling in your children, this is what you consume, this is how you feel, you have to keep this going. So you're actually damaging a child's process in development if you're subjecting your children to any of this. FYI. And clearly not a doctor, parent, it's just common sense.
guess depending on, you could probably use this for educational purposes. So I guess maybe we could kind of keep this limited in a way. I guess people could kind of show their teenagers stuff like this. So
With all the threats, I know where you live. I'm gonna come for you. I'm gonna make phone calls to mess up your life as you know it. Yeah, now Tiffany Marie, who covers missing children, is now showing that this is normal behavior out of an adult.
it's important, really important. But Benny,
Absolutely.
did you get to say everything that you need to say about this Mule app? Because I think you're right about that with the targeting of children that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the fit, you know, they try to fish hatchery something on the YouTube
Yeah.
with the Angels Juniors and you know,
They are trying to fish hatchery something from the YouTubes. What?
the funneling from the main Mystery Angels to the Juniors, and I think that she just found an easier way to do it, where she had complete access to children that would come on, because you know, who would ever think until now that you had to watch your kids while they were in there karaokeing on Fuel? But you actually do, because that funnel, because Chip was DOA at that time, but we have proof she was alive. She was definitely not going to, in my opinion, do the grooming that she was trying to do on YouTube. She wasn't going to do that on the Shmule. So she was going to direct that somewhere else. And I think that we found throughout this expose, you'll hear that Chip had a private Discord, and that Griffey is the one that set all of that up, and then subsequently was the one to delete all of the evidence. So Griffey, your hands are fucking filthy, madam. Your hands are fucking filthy because you deleted all of the evidence that was in that Discord. And we know Fizzle was there too.
So let's just have a clear mind about this. If, listen, this video's gross. I saw it. It's weird. I don't want to watch the whole thing. I don't care. This lady's a weirdo, Chips Angel. I remember seeing her before. She's a fucking whole ass weirdo. Okay, piece of shit. All right. All of these true crime creators, trash. Don't care. Hurt your feelings. Too bad. Work on yourselves. Stop covering missing children and profiting off of it. If that triggers you, then you're guilty. So, if, let's just say, if she was doing something inappropriate to children to groom them, which is the claim that they are now presenting to you. So they're foreshadowing what this video is going to do, what this video is about. They're going to tell you she's grooming children to lure them off and bring them from Smule to YouTube where she could groom them, or in the Discord that they had access to. If, and this is a big if, they were committing a crime, why are you going live before you've turned this to authorities? And if you've turned this over to authorities, why aren't you waiting for charges? Because you would be the first to know before presenting this. Because this is sensationalism. That's why.
Yes. So was anybody in the community, I wanted to ask, was anybody in that Discord? Did anybody witness anything? Like what was in there? And
So they don't know, but they just said that's where they groom children, or just implied that's where they groom children, or we're going to groom children.
please come forward, because she explains that she's the one that started it up and she's the one that crushed that Discord too. And that's where I believe the children were. And I believe that's where they were speaking to them, because there's really no way except like a little chat on the side to talk to kids. So
Correct.
I didn't know there was a Discord until I listened to this stream. And the circle jerks, you cannot defend this. You
You can
can't.
try.
You
You
can't
can
defend
try,
it.
but I'll tell you what, this whole thing.
Oh, no, but they will.
Listen, I'm sorry.
No,
What'd you
no,
say?
they can't.
No, they will though. That's what they do.
No, it's what they do, but that's just here, because when you listen to them, there's too many personalities, in my opinion, Miss Jenna. They can't all keep on the same accord. That fucking thing started out 3 dozen people, and now it's down to 6 or 7, and there's a rotating door in it. This whole thing is tied fizzle directly to this shit.
Do not tell Benny he's wrong. Anyone coming in here to say this is wrong? No, it's wrong that all these people sat on this information for as long as they did and never said anything.
Okay, so if this was legitimate information, it should be able to be questioned objectively, respectfully, without this behavior. They are now enforcing compliance.
How many children were preyed upon in the process of that? Keeping your mouth shut and having silence like that when
Makes
this
you
is going
complicit.
on. Yeah. So
Um,
listen, I'm going to mute and I'm going to play this real quick, because I don't think people even understand yet the severity of it. Like, hold on one sec. Let me just play one of these real fast, because there's so
What were
much.
you going to say, Miss Jenna?
I have CJ Mack. She's in the chat. She wanted me to give you a message. She said, "Tell
Yeah.
Tiffany, someone accepted a new member into the private Facebook group last week. The last Shmuel uploaded 17 days ago, and these are the circle jerks who defended Port Farmer, who is, I don't know if you're familiar with Port Farmer,
No.
but he protects pedophiles."
Holy shit. This is morbid, probably, huh, Jenna?
Huh?
Kind of like Morbid. That guy
Yes.
Morbid?
Yeah.
Wow, or the Glare, who
So now, here we're going. This is when we're getting into it hot and heavy. Everyone who does not agree with me is a PDF file. This is the introduction to it. So that's why this is significant.
it would be that for Morbid. Okay, so Poor Door Farmer. Good to know.
Okay. Poor door farmer. Thank you, Jenna. Who was it that you said wrote that in the chat? It was
CJ. She's one of my.
CJ Mack. Okay,
Welcome,
thank you
CJ.
so much, CJ. Black Dahlia, hey, I've been looking for you. Miss you. All right, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna play this real fast. Thank you, Benny. I didn't hear her.
Yes, ma'am.
Then all you do is press that button. That's your first step. Then all you do is press that button. That's your first step. Mystery Angels is a safe place for you. You know, sometimes we get angry and we just want to say things to just get it off our chest. It's okay too.
P.S. This video gave me the fucking creeps, okay? Let's be real. This is fucking weird. But this whole production, taking this video, making it into something bigger, that there's now some giant PDF file ring, that's a problem for me. Again, objectively looking, I don't know any of these freaking people. I could care less. But I see what they are now doing. Everyone who does not agree with me is in a pedophile ring. It's gross. And it's unacceptable behavior. Most people want to just pummel a PDF file. I do. I would. So,
But sometimes it's a big, scary place. And sometimes, although everyone says you can trust, you have to earn trust. And I will earn my trust with you. We all will at Mr.
I
Angels.
bet you will. Creepy motherfucker, you.
And I will earn my trust with you. We all will at Mr. Angels. You can trust, you can trust. You have to earn trust. And I will earn my trust with you. We all will at Mr. Angels.
Me
We're
too,
going to have
Cecil.
so much fun in Mr. Angels. We're going to have treasure hunts, games, gaming. joining groups in the games. You know how sometimes it's hard that you don't know people and it gets hard to join Xbox games or PlayStation game, and it's like you want to be a party, but you're scared to because you don't know no one. Then that's about to change on this channel.
Oof.
We're here for you, 16s and under.
16s and under, juniors
We're
only.
giving lives where you can come up and ask us questions like, we're here for you, 16s and under. I
No
don't know,
question
you're stuck on a
formulated.
question at school, or the answers will find.
When you're, when you say to fix your bicycle, I don't think that these kids probably need any help in just YouTubing how to fix a bicycle. What this sounds like is they'll send somebody over there to fix your bicycle for you. Like this
Right.
is meeting in real life. That's the.
And I agree with Benny on this one. I do agree that that's essentially what she's talking about.
Set up for this. I digress.
Thank you, Benny.
into the answers.
Yes, ma'am.
Or maybe you just want to come up and chat. We will hide your identity so no one knows you can chat. So no one will know your avatar, and we will change your name. We will give you a name so that way no one knows who you are. Auntie Stella and Uncle
Ooh.
Whisper.
Auntie Chris.
Computer's gone wrong or something like that.
And let me tell you, Circle Jerks, this is the
Right.
issue. Chris Hines is tied into this, and I have the whole correspondence between Carl and the detective in the county where Chris lives at. They've invited me into the conversation, and I will be entering the conversation with the detective on Monday, tomorrow. Let me tell you what, Circle Jerks, I don't care what the fuck you ladies think over there in the UK. They're interested in what Chris was involved with these people. He wants every stitch of information, and they are actively investigating the shit out of Chris Hines right now. So I don't care. You can come over here and circle jerk these people all around all you want, but American law enforcement, baby, they're very interested in what these people were doing. So you can come here with your mouth full of cheese, dick. I don't care about that.
Well,
What we
most of
care
the circle
about
jerks
is the
are
fact
from
that
the
you
United States.
Huh?
Most of the circle jerks are from the United States. There's only a couple of them that's not.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and this is where we're about to end this with. And then we'll have part 2 coming very soon. I will review it the same. I'm just finishing some supporting evidence for the things that I'm talking about. Each part, I'll have it broke down. Probably be about this long, so there might be about 3 parts to this. But this is not acceptable behavior, and you're about to hear it. Just because you don't agree with what I'm saying, what I'm doing, do we have to rise to the level of violence or threats of violence or fear and an intimidation? The only reason you are using these tactics is to intimidate people. And I'm sorry, I know for me, if you push me, I'm gonna push back. In fact, pushing at me only makes me worse. If you want to have a normal conversation with me, we can find some mutual ground to talk and discuss things. Mutual respect for humanity. Okay, I'll listen to you. But if you come at me hot and heavy, it's on.
Yeah, I already got all their names. Ziggy gave them to me. I know who every last one of them is. There's one that lives a mile and a half.
So Ziggy gave Benny Keys all of the Circle Jerks information. Let me slow this down. Back it up 10 seconds. Listen again.
The circle jerks are from the United States. There's only a couple of them that's not.
Oh, yeah, I already got all their names. Ziggy gave them to me. I know who every last one of them is. There's one that lives a mile and a half from Carl. So, y'all know who they all are. They need to be very careful.
Again, it's a threat. Benny, what are you going to do? Literally, Benny. Are you going to CPS call them? Are you going to have them swatted? Are you going to call in a mental health check? Are you going to once again waste law enforcement time, resources for your personal feelings getting hurt? Because that's where we're at. So stay tuned. I'll be uploading part 2 very soon.